Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, since the committee last met to consider this nomination, the Trump trade agenda has continued to be a swampy mess. And, obviously they and the president are very good at getting headlines about trade, but we're still coming up way short in terms of getting any sense of what their trade plan is or who, if anybody, is in charge. To sum up the first 3 weeks of Trump trade activity, no results, higher costs for American businesses and American families. Here's the evidence. There has been mass uncertainty since last week about how small packages from China and elsewhere would enter the country. The chairman and I have talked a bit more about this because this relates to our part of the world and fentanyl and the like, and this has led to a brief ban by the Postal Service on receiving packages from China at all, and then a rollback of the policy. No results, higher costs for American families and small businesses. There have been new tariff threats against countries around the world. Unclear under what law and which countries or products would be impacted. But if it's anything like the planned tariffs on Mexico and Canada, my view is that this proposal will once again clobber working Americans. No results, higher costs for American families and small businesses. Now, as of yesterday, President Trump has slapped new tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. Now, I have supported tariffs on steel and aluminum in the past, and I believe, pursuing this area in a thoughtful way may show that new tariffs are needed in the future to level the playing field for American manufacturing. Unfortunately, the Trump approach is not going to solve the biggest problem, which is China flooding the market with cheap steel, cheap aluminum, and eating up America's markets, driving down prices. It is yet again wasting time on what amounts to big headlines, flashy headlines, attacking Canada and other allies instead of trying to help steelworkers on the front lines of a global economic war. Again, no results, higher costs for families and small businesses. Now, as noted by the chairman, today the committee is going to vote on the nomination of Jamieson Greer to serve as U.S. Trade Representative. I want to make it clear that I have talked to Mr. Greer over the years, and I've always found him friendly and looking to be constructive. I just have come to the conclusion he's not going to influence the administration to make the global economy work better for typical Americans, and that he is just going to be unable to be the administration's leading voice on trade as the law requires. If confirmed, I believe he's going to end up being a rubber stamp for more Trump trade chaos. The president campaigned on slapping blanket tariffs on all imported goods, imposing a multi-trillion-dollar tax on everything American families buy from other countries, and obviously this would be money that would be used to pay for the tax breaks for billionaires. As far as I can tell, Mr. Greer appears to be in lockstep with President Trump, including supporting the use of tariffs for revenues, which is a tax that hits working Americans the hardest. He seems to have no quarrel with Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, with no strategy or plan to leverage them into trade wins for American stakeholders. These tariffs have already halted investment in manufacturing. Let me say that again. These tariffs have already halted crucial investment in manufacturing, and fully imposed are going to cost the typical U.S. household over $1,200 a year. Targeted and strategic tariffs, in my view, can be a useful tool to address unfair trade practices and level the playing field for American workers and businesses. The sweeping tariffs Donald Trump has proposed and Mr. Greer seems to be supporting are going to jack up prices, cause shortages of necessities like healthcare and housing, and most importantly, drive up inflation. I simply do not have confidence that Mr. Greer will be in the room for important trade and tariff decisions, unlike previous representatives of this office. He has said Donald Trump's use of tariffs to settle scores on issues unrelated to trade are not a trade issue, and therefore not something he would expect to be involved with if confirmed. It's unclear what influence over critical trade decisions Mr. Greer would have in the administration, or whether he would have any at all. We need someone who's at USTR who doesn't pass the buck and is empowered to speak with authority, both to the Senate Finance Committee and on the administration's trade policy, and to the President on the needs of the American people, particularly their needs on these crucial trade issues. Mr. Greer is not that person, and I'm going to vote against him.